So this is exercise 706, intersection of lines. It says Megan and Jane both sell kitchenware and earn commissions. Megan's commission is $240 plus 5% of her sales. So notice Megan's commission is $240 plus 5% of her sales. They've got a formula for it here. So can you see the $240 plus, why do you think this is 0.05x? What does 5% mean? What does 5% mean? 5 out of 100. So watch. 5 out of 100. What is 5 divided by 100? It is. You know when you divide by 100, you can do it on your calc, or you just move the decimal place back 2 places. It's 0.5. Now, if you were to work it out, you would say the commission, really what you'd like to write is commission is $240 plus, just watching, 5%, that's 5 over 100 times her sales, which I'll call X. Okay? So, commission is 240 plus 5%, which is 5 over 100 times X. 5 over 100 is 0.05. That's why the formula is what it is. Okay? Now that $240 is called a retainer. She gets paid something even if she doesn't sell. She'll always get a minimum of $240 a week, plus 5% of the value of her sales. But Jane's commission is quite different. She only gets 20% of her sales, no retainer. What's 20%? It's 20 over 100, which is 2 over 10, which is 0.2. And that's why her commission is 0.2 times X. So anyway, girls, they've given you the formula, okay? So you've got the formulas for both, where X is the total value of sales and C is the commission. Ladies, they want you to graph the commission formulas on this graph paper from X is 0 to X is 2000, from X is 0 to 2,400. So we're going to decide on a scale. So come down the bottom. I'll just go down the bottom of my page. 0. I have to go up to 2,400. So, yeah, let's see. If you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that's 1,000. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I just hope I've done it right. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll just go 500. 6, 7, 8, 9, 1,000. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1,500. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2,000. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2,500. So that looks good. This is the sales. Value of sales. X. Okay? And on the other axis, we have to put the commission C. So we've got to decide what sorts of values we're going to get before we decide on the scale going up there. I don't know how high it's going to go. So we're going to need some paper, and we're going to have to work out, they want you to go from 0 to 2,400. So why don't we work out our maximum value? When X is what? What do you think? What values of X do you have to substitute into this formula? From X is 0 to X is 2,400. So can you please put X is 2,400 in here, and we'll see how high the graph needs to go up. Equals 0.05x plus 240. Let's do some values. I can set up a little table if you want. Do you want a table of values? Good. So X and C. When X is 0, what do you get? X is value of sales. Looking at your formula, we've got the formula there. C equals 0.05x plus 240. When X is 0, what do I get? 240. Let's do, remember we have to go all the way up to 2,400. I don't want too many values. Let's put in 2,400. So here I got 240. Can you put X is 2,400 in there, and let's see what we get. just choosing a few more values. The reason, does anyone know the reason why I chose 2,400? Because they want you to go all the way up to there. All right, so we've got 360. Does someone want to do when X is 1,000? Yep, 290. And the other one, to me, I think it's going to be 340. So 0.05 times any value of X that you want, which is 2,000 this time, plus 240 gives you 340. Do you know what I'm doing, girls? Yes. The reason we do this is so that we know that the commission goes up to 360. Okay? Let's go. So what are we going to do? What do you want to do? I don't think we got 36 squares up there. What do you want to go up by 20s, maybe? 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. 20, 40, 60, 80, 200. That's what I'm doing. 20, 40, 60, 80, 300. Okay, so I'm going up by 20s. You know, to go up by 10s, it would be quite big. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Girls, how big do you go? I probably could have gone by 10s. If I look at it now, look how big my grid is. But you just go as big as you can on your exam paper. You know why? It's more accurate. The bigger you go, the more accurate it is. Put in the values I had. When X is 0, Y is 240. When X is 1,000, it's 290, which is between, because it goes up by 20s. When 2,000, I've got 340. That's a better value to work with. So I'd be making sure it goes through that one before I make sure it goes through that, because I approximated that one. And for 2,400, what did I get? 360. And that's a really easy one to see. And then get your line and draw it. Join the line. Graph for Megan. The next thing we need to do is draw the graph for Jane. Now it's telling me that Jane's commission is 0.2 times X. That's her formula for Jane. So why don't you just do similar values. Okay, the first one was Megan and the second one is Jane. 0, you need to do 0. Why don't we do 1,000, 2,000 and 2,400 as well? Can you do that now? We okay? So what do we got? What's 0.2 times 0? 1,000 times 0.2. 2,000 times 0.2 is 400. 2,400 times 0.2 is 480. So now, girls, we're going to do that in a different colour on the same graph, and we're going to look at the point of intersection because it's got significance. So I also need 480, so I'm going 20, 40, 60, 80, 500. So we're plotting the points. 0, 0, 1,200, 2,400, 2,400, 480. And we're going to join those as well. All right, you'll see it in a minute. Okay. The red line belongs to Jane. Okay, ladies, it should look like that. Shh. Shh. Part B. If each person sells $1,200 worth of kitchenware, who earns more? Let's look up 1,200. It's here. 1,200's here. Does the red person earn more or the blue person earn more? Right, so who's that? The blue person's Megan. So the answer to that question, if each person sells $1,200 worth of Tupperware, who earns more? We're going to say Megan, but girls, don't just say Megan. You know, this is maths. Tell me by how much. So here we go. It's the difference between those. Can you see? Well, Megan gets, what's each square worth?
Could you say
Megan earns more by how much? Megan earns how much? 300. And Jane earns 240. So it's Megan by $240.
Can you say that Jane has to work more to get the same level as Megan?
Megan by $60. So you might say Megan earns 300, Jane earns 240. Megan earns $60 more. It says, for what value of sales does Megan earn more than Jane? So Megan's blue, Jane is red. Up to what value of sales does Megan earn more than Jane? Well, it's up to here. Let's go down and have a look. It's exactly 1,600. Very good. So, girls, Megan earns more commission than Jane if the sales are under 1,600. Do you get it? Girls, you want to be Megan up to here, but then you don't want to be Megan anymore. Does that make sense? So, Megan earns more up to $1,600 worth of sales, but after $1,600, Jane, who is red, earns more. Do you get it? All right. So for what values of sales does Megan earn more than Jane? Up to, so from $0 to $1,600. Okay, but it doesn't include the 1,600. I think we should put to less than, to anything less. So from $0 to anything less than $1,600. And for what values of sales does Megan earn the same as Jane? The same. When do they earn the same? At which value? 1,600. So, girls, which commission would you choose? If you know you're going to sell a lot, you would choose Jane's formula. But if you don't think your sales are going to be very high, you'll go with Megan's rate of commission. All right? Now, question 7 in the same exercise. Jeff wants to hire a car over 3 days for a long weekend. There are 2 rental companies to choose from. Notice it's 3 days. So it's $45 a day plus $1.85 per kilometre. Notice, where do you think, so here's Shifty. Shifty is $1.35 plus, here's the $1.85 that I can see, but why do you think it says $1.35 instead of $45? Because this is the formula for 3 days. Just tell me what 45 times 3 is. It's 135. So girls, that's where the 135 is coming from, because it's $45 a day. So we do 45 times 3 is the 135, and it's $1.85 per kilometre. They're using D for distance, kilometres. Megahertz, however, is $80 a day plus $1.55 a kilometre. So they charge you more for the car, but less for the kilometres. Whereas Shifty charges you less for the car, but more for the kilometres. So therefore, we have to do 80 times 3 days is $240. That's where that comes from, plus the $1.55 times D. Do we get the formulas and what they mean? Yeah. Now, the first question is, you have to graph them from 0 to 500. So what I would do, let's get the maximum value for each formula this time. Can we do that? So can you put, because I only did the maximum value for one of the formulas last time, I really should have done it for both. So if you put D is 500 into the first equation and the second equation, you'll know what your scale needs to go up by, what the highest value is. And we have to go on the bottom from 0 to 500. So if you want, do you want to do 0 to 500 down the bottom? What do you want to go up by?
20.
Yeah, 20, 40, 60, 80.
100.
I can't do it. 100. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. 400. 500. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. I'm writing distance, small d, because that's what it is, and kilometres. Now, I've really got to work out how quickly I'll go up that vertical scale. Don't even think about working it out until you know the maximum value. So you need to substitute 500, D is 500, into each of the formulas. And that is as high as you will need to go. Okay, can I move? Right, let's go. Let's just put D is 500 into the first one. I mean, I can do it on a piece of paper. Or you can just do it on your sheet. Yep. So let's go. So let's do D is 500. So the maximum, I'm just going to put the max here for my graph, maximum. Isn't it C is 1.85 times 500 plus 135. Do you get what I'm doing? So for the first one, it's 1,060. And for the second one, it's 1.55 times 500 plus 240. Can I actually have someone else checking it too? I need two people getting the same answer. 1,015? All right. All right, what have we got for the first one? $1.85 times 500 plus 135. Do we definitely get 1,060? The maximum value when we substitute 500 kilometres is going to be 1,060 and 1,015. We only need to go to 1,060. Now we need to decide on a scale going up. And do not make it go up by hundreds. It's too big. So, I don't know. 20's too small. Here we've got quite a big graph. If we decide we want to go up to about there, maybe about 20 squares or so, but our maximum value is approximately 1,000. We do 1,000 divided by 20, this is just approximate, is 50. I'll go up by 50s. In other words, every 2 squares is 100. Does that make sense? So that's 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. Notice I'm not writing the values on everything. Or you might, so 100, 2, 3, 4, 5. 600, 700, 800, 900, 1,000. Or you might just decide to write your numbers on every second marking. You don't have to put it on all of them. Does that make sense? So this is what I've done. I know I've put some extras. I'll just rub off 500. So 100, 200, I've written it down. 300, 400, write that one down. Girls, you don't want to write down every single one. I write down, is C cost? Yep. So this is dollars, dollar sign, cost. Capital C according to my formula. Right. Now, do you know what you're going to do? Do you want to do a little table? I would do the point 0, 500, and 1 in between will do. What do you want to do? Let's all do 0. 0 is an easy one. Let's look at shifty. Girls, we've already got 2 values for shifty. What about when D is 0? What do we get for shifty? Hello? Good. Now that's going to be a real pain to graph. We can't do it accurately. There's 100. There's 150. It's about there. I'm going to have to come up with more values. See, that's about 135. All right, I'm going to do a table of values here. So we've got shifty. C is 1.85D plus 135. Here we go. Shifty. D. D is 0. Cost is 135. Let's do D is 200. We already know when D is 500 what we got. We got 1,060. Just give me one more value when D is 200. And that will do. Anyone? 1.85 times 200 plus 135. When D is 200, we're getting 505. When D is 500, we're getting 1,060. So 200 is 505. Well, there's 500 and a little bit more, just a little bit more. And 500 is 1,060. See, it's not going to be very accurate. 1,050 plus a bit more. Okay, join. Okay, I've joined these points, and that is the straight line graph for Shifty. Notice that down here the y-intercept is 135, because when D is 0, the cost is 135, and we've plotted these other points. Now I just have to look at the straight line graph for megahertz. So if we look at megahertz, so when distance traveled is 0, the cost will be 240. So we'll just indicate 240 on the graph. If this is 200, then this is 300. Halfway is 250. So this, if you can divide that into 5 parts, 240 would be approximately there. So also we know that when the distance is 500, so we did that over here with this formula, 1.55 times 500 plus 240. So when the distance travelled is 500, the cost is 1,015. So we can put that point in as well. So 500, here is 1,000. That would be 1,100. This would be 1,050. 1,015 would be a little bit lower down here. So 1,000, 1,050, 1,015 would be almost a third of the way there. All right, so I've basically got this first point here, another point there. We really should be calculating another value. So if someone, actually if we just work out as well, might just do when the distance is either 250 or 300, we might do 300 kilometres. So when I work out 1.55 times 300 plus 240, I'm getting an answer of 705. So for 300, well, here we can see that that's exactly 700, I think, so a bit bigger than that. So if that's 700, that's 750. 705 is really just ever slightly above the line, just ever slightly. So actually might just do another point as well. So when D is 200, so 1.55 times 200 plus 240. So when it's 200, I'm getting 550. That's a really good value to substitute. 200, now this is 500, that's 600, so 550 is in the middle. That's actually a really good value. So I'm actually just going to go with these few points. I'd rather make sure it goes exactly through this one because it's on the intersection of a grid. And there. So this is the straight line graph for megahertz. The blue one is megahertz. Okay, so now it looks like the next question, part B, says where do the two graphs intersect? What does this represent? Well, if we're looking here, they're almost on each other. To me, it looks like they're intersecting right there. When the cost, if I look down here, so this to me looks like the point of intersection. And that looks to be when the cost is 360, because this goes up by 20, 40, 60. So if you're not sure, you can always check it out in the formula. So if I think it's when I'm going to test for D is 360 into both formulas. So the first formula would be 1.85 times 360 plus 135 and see what we get. So 1.85 times 360 plus 135, that gives me an answer of 801 approximately. And for the other formula, 1.55 times 360 plus 135, $240 gives me 1.55 times 360 plus 240 gives me about 798. Now, they're not exact, but they are very, very close, okay? It's only a difference of a couple of dollars. The thing with a graph like this, when you're reading the point of intersection off graphs, it is just an estimation, basically, of when, of what the point of intersection is. So unless this was going up, if I have a scale that is maybe going up by, say, tens, you may get a bit more of an accurate answer. But look, that is fairly close for a cost difference of $3. Okay, as I said, that is just an approximation to the answer. If I check the back of the book, the actual answer is D is 350. But as you can see, it's really hard to see off the graph what the point of intersection is. In an exam, maybe the scale might be different and perhaps one of those lines would be drawn. You'd just probably have to draw the other line and read the point of intersection of. So if I do look at D is 350 and substitute D equals 350 into both formulas, for the first one I get $782.50, and if I put D is 350 into this, second formula here, I also get $782.50. So therefore the answer is distance is 350, but to give an answer of 360 from your graph, we just give you the correct answer from the graph, so that would be correct. What does that represent? Well, it represents the distance where the changeover, I suppose. So before 360 or 350 kilometres, the red one, which is shifty, is cheaper. But after 350 or 360 kilometres, megahertz becomes the cheaper company. The blue one becomes the cheaper company. So what does the point of actual intersection represent? It's the point when the cost for both companies is the same for that particular distance travelled. So it represents the point or the distance travelled for the cost from both companies to be the same. So therefore, when D is 350 kilometres, the cost for both companies is $782.50. And the last bit of the question, if Jeff plans to drive an average of 100 kilometres each day, now remember he's got a 3-day rental, so 100 times 3 is 300 kilometres. Which plan would be better for him? So if he's driving 300 kilometres, well, the red one, which is shifty, is slightly better. Okay, so which plan would be better? You can write that shifty would be better. And they're asking for the cost. And look, you could read it from the graph, but once again, this may not be very accurate. Okay, so if we look at 300 from the graph, I can't quite tell if it's quite 700 or not. It might be a little bit less. So you can use the formula for shifty and substitute 300. So for here, I'm going to go C is 1.85 times 300 plus 135. Calculating that out, 1.85 times 300 plus 135, I'm actually getting $690. That's for shifty. And if you want to compare it, that's for shifty cost. And the cost for megahertz would be 1.55 times 300 plus 240. And the answer we get for that is, so megahertz for that 300 kilometres travelled is slightly more expensive at $705. Notice that it's $15 more expensive, but they're just asking you what would be the cost, and it would be $690. Okay. If they ask you which one would be better and why, you could work them. You can see that the cost is below there on the graph. But if you want to do a dollar amount, shifty is better by $15 because 705 minus 690 is $15. And that's the end of that question.